How do you feel when somebody pronounces your name incorrectly? Do you get that little itch in the back of your head that says, well, maybe I should correct them, maybe I shouldn't, I don't want to make things uncomfortable for them? My name is Tracy. I'll give you a moment to try and say my last name. Now, if you said McGough, then you are absolutely wrong. If you said McGough, then you are absolutely still wrong. My last name is pronounced McGough. It's not an intuitive way to say it, but it is in fact how you say it. And I've heard it wrong so often that I don't even hear it wrong anymore. I work in talent acquisition for a global company. So my interaction with somebody may be the very first time somebody talks with somebody with our company. And we want the best of the best. So we need to sell ourselves to them as well. So it's important to us that we give the idea of an inclusive and diverse environment. It's important to us to make sure that our first interaction with somebody is a good one. And it usually starts with somebody's name. So I make a point to try and make them feel comfortable by asking them, how can I respect you by saying your name properly? By asking someone how to say their name correctly, you show that you have an interest in them, you respect them, you want to develop a relationship with them, whether it be personal, professional, or casual, even if it's just temporary. The importance of this connection will be discussed today, and we'll talk about things you can do to try to streamline that. Rita Cohley and Daniel Solarzano offered this information in Race, Ethnicity, and Education. While the racial undertones to the mispronouncing of names in schools are often understated, when analyzed with the context of historical and current day racism, the authors argue that these incidents are racial microaggressions. They are subtle daily insults that, as a form of racism, support a racial and cultural hierarchy of minority inferiority. Today we will cover simple steps toward inclusion. This is what we'll talk about. Understanding the origin of names and why they're important. We'll also talk about identifying those common mistakes that you make in everyday conversations and adopting best practices to try to make somebody feel cared for. It's a culture of caring. Let's begin by understanding the origin of names and where they come from. Historically, there have been different methods for self-identification. Ancestors used colors, sounds, and eventually words to identify themselves. And they also used them for association with different groups as well. They would even use jewelry or personal adornments to reflect their identity. Also, a person's name often provides important insight into their identity. It includes religion, ancestral heritage, and regional connections. Naming is a broad topic about persons, places, and things. So it's hard to pinpoint on certain areas. Everybody has different names from different regions. For instance, religion, you might have a name that is based on spiritual teachings or saints. People will often be named after saints. It may be a name that doesn't mean anything, but it is based on a prominent figure. Ancestral heritage are names that are passed from grandparents or from elders. And regional are types of names that change from region to region. What may be commonplace in where you live may not be the same for where somebody else is from or where they might live. Let's go back. Onomastics is the science that studies the names in all of their aspects. the science or study of the origins and forms of words, especially as used in a specialized field. Onomastics is usually studied regionally. There are different divisions for it based on parts of the world. It can be included for persons, places, or things, but the one underlying factor among all of them is they do focus on proper names. What are some of the common mistakes when regarding the use of someone's name? One of the first mistakes that is made is soldiering on. It's continuing to butcher someone's name without regard to them listening to it being said wrong over and over again. It's simply not caring about how it's being said. Secondly, creating a nickname for someone because you struggle with their name, shortening the name on purpose to make it easier on you. Simply condensing it down to one initial is another way that people do it, or even worse, calling them something altogether different because it's funny, because you feel uncomfortable in the situation. It's disrespectful to the person and disrespectful to their name. So don't call them Bob because you can't pronounce their name correctly. Responding negatively to someone's name creates a space of exclusion. They don't feel respected or included. Now that we understand the serious impacts of making mistakes, let's focus on moving away from problematic situations and identify some solutions. First, ask the person for the correct pronunciation. Feel free to repeat it back to them. Can you repeat that to me, please? Give me one moment. Can you say that again? Clarification is okay. Please ask them to clarify. People will not mind repeating. They'll notice that it's important to you. There's no need to talk excessively about it. Find the correct pronunciation and move on. Nobody wants to hear your excuses for it. Nobody wants to have to answer about where the name comes from. There's no need to just keep badgering on about it. Chances are they've heard it all before and they would prefer just to have it said correctly and to move on. Before asking that they repeat their name, feel free to show some humility. It's okay. And briefly apologize for the error. I'm sorry, can you please repeat that back to me? Oh, forgive me, I know you've told me before what your name is, and I just want to make sure I get it right. It's important to me. When you've made an effort to help someone feel included and valued, then everybody is much happier for it. Now that we've addressed some information about origin and problematic situations and provided some simple solutions, let's wrap things up. First, a person's name may provide more meaning than you know. Showing effort in saying someone's name correctly establishes an immediate and mutual level of respect, a culture of caring. Avoid asking about their name in ways that are awkward and cumbersome for both of you. It just makes everybody uncomfortable. And politely clarify pronunciation and enunciation when learning someone's name, and feel free to repeat it back to them, even if you have to repeat it back more than once. What is in a name? It's not up to you to understand the value of someone's name, but you can easily make them feel valued by extending a few simple common courtesies. And thank you very much.